Hello and welcome to Talk on Tuesday. And today I've got Sue Hopkinson with me. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And
Thank
yeah, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to our chat today. Um, so, to begin with, can you tell us that how has your job change? Many people have found massive changes in terms of the way that they're having to work. So how has your job changed?
in a big way, to be fair. I think, like most of the country, when we went into lockdown, as a local authority, we were asked to work from home, which was kind of an overnight thing. So trying to pick up and relocate to home, to try and continue some form of working. So I work for the Lancashire County Council in Children's Services, and I manage a team over a district over in Burnley. Um, and fundamentally, a lot of our role is engaging with children and young people and families. So we went from seeing people on a daily basis within centres, within homes, within community, within schools, to not being able to see them. So how do you do your job when you can't see the people that you're there to support and other professionals? So I think if I remember back to the initial lockdown, which seems forever ago because we've been in the situation for such a long time now, I think the initial issues were around the practicalities of relocating a whole staff team to home and understanding how we might go forwards, and be able to support families. We were playing catch up every day, new information. We had daily briefings around how we would just manage everything. So it was always, we sometimes say that the goalposts are moving, but it was how we play catch up. So it's just been a huge change for us, really, which has settled down, but we've had bumps in the road. So you can imagine lots of risk assessments have to be in place before we can go out with PPE equipment, and just around staff feeling confident to be able to go out in the community, to be able to go out to people's homes. Obviously, we don't do it to the degree that we did before. It's a huge reduction, although that we are seeing some slight increases in the visits that we do. But it's just a different way of working. So I think that's made us feel quite, maybe not useless is not the right word, but ineffective maybe, because we can't see and have those face-to-face conversations, and we've met a lot of people distant or reluctant or terrified to speak in a virtual way, and telephone conversations have not worked out the best. So really a whole mixed bag. From the service side of it, for me, massive impact of working in an office, in a centre, engaging and interacting with people, to being at home, trying to manage a team and have oversight of a service across one of the busiest, most deprived districts in the county. So one or two challenges there.
Yeah, I mean that must be incredibly difficult to manage, frustrating, and I mean, I get this picture that you can actually look and think, well, how do I measure if I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing? In where you've kind of changed. Massive.
It's so incredibly difficult to try and measure the effectiveness of a service when you can't see those changes. When we do work with families and you can see the improvement, whether that's on improvement within a young person's confidence and the building their resilience, their interaction, how they are with the family members, you can see all of that, and you can see the difference from one visit to the next. But when you're doing that over telephone, you can't see body language, you can't see and feel that environment, really. So it's really quite difficult to trying to understand the difference that we're making sometimes.
So I mean, sort of picking up on that, in terms of you know, you and your colleagues, it must have an impact on your sense of well-being as well, because you know, do you get anxious about those families who you would have been working with, those young people, and so how do you cope with that?
It's a learning process, to be honest with you, Rod. There's anxiety comes into this job, and the way that we're working now, because we're not having that connection. I'm not having the connection with my management team, with the team across Burnley. We've got an amazing team of people, and you know, when we have situations that arise and situations that escalate, there's a level of containment that you can give to one another, seeing one another, and you know, to understand situations. When you're at home and you're working on your own, it's very isolating and you're very lonely, and trying to deal with just call after call. I mean, Skype is my new best friend, you know, meeting after meeting. But it is difficult, because what I've found is that, you know, you might have a meeting. Prior to lockdown, we'd go to a meeting, we'd discuss something, and then you come away from the meeting and you've almost got that reflection time to come from one meeting to another venue or to another, wherever you're going. You've got that reflection time to think about it, absorb what you've just heard, and then almost put a plan together before you react. Now that reaction time has changed because you're straight into the next meeting. So sometimes you might make a decision, and then, you know, quite often for me, it's the early hours of the morning. I wake up and I'm thinking, maybe if we did it this way. So, and you know, I do have that reflection time, but it's a delayed process, which is quite bizarre, really. So it is difficult. So I think, you know, across the whole staff team, as you can imagine, we've done lots of risk assessments, how people are coping. You know, and I think a message across that we've got from all staff is that they're missing that interaction with their colleagues. And sometimes that's just to say, did you watch that on TV last night, or do you want a cup of coffee, or, you know, things like that that breaks it up. It's not always work that we talk about, because, you know, we work in a tough service, really, a difficult line of work, really. So
it's the water cooler moment, isn't it? That's what you're talking about there, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've hinted at the challenges of working at home, working from home.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can sort of give us insight about the challenge there, and maybe even lightening the mood a little bit, because obviously when you're working at home, it's a different environment, so maybe different things sort of come into play.
Well, it's a different routine, certainly. I mean, I'm working from home, and up until probably about a month ago, I was set up at the dining table. So we've not actually had dinner at the dining table for quite some time. And Peter, who's my amazing husband, had sorted out. I'm actually in the shed. I'm in Hubster's man cave at the moment. So we're in the shed, and he set up a home office to allow some separation from home and work. And I can't tell you the difference that's made. You know, so the humour around that, the first time I said to Peter, I'm going to work now, he said, safe journey across the back garden, you know. So, you know, it's the little things. And I've got Grace, you know, my pup, little companion there. You know, it's a different way of working at home, certainly. You know, having no interaction with people, and then you've got your Zoom cameras, and you think, right, okay, I need to look presentable because someone's going to see me, rather than wearing the same tracksuit, or, you know, it's just, you've just got to try and keep some, like, routine into working from home. and that, you know, having a break away from the computer, and going, getting yourself a cup of coffee or that water cooler moment, going and have a chat with Peter, because Peter, my husband's on furlough and has been for 13 weeks now, you know, so it's going having a chat with him and saying, right, what are you doing, what's your plan? Because for him, you know, he's done every single job possible and then some, you know, so then he's at that point of, what do I do now, you know? So yeah, it's working in a different way. I got quite excited on Thursday, which is quite sad really. I had my first face-to-face meeting in 16 weeks. I have never been as excited to walk into a police station in my life, and the police inspector, bless him, was just laughing when we did the rounds, and I said, my name's Sue Hopkinson, I'm so pleased to be here, and he was just laughing, you know. But it's the small things, isn't it, you know? So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. I think that will stick with me. You know, the pleasure at walking into a police station.
I know, before, you know, not that I've been in trouble, but yes, it was a comical moment at the start of a serious meeting.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. What about the future? What does that hold? You know, in the coming months.
I think still a level of uncertainty, an element of change. I am aware that we're going to be going back into work, into some centres, to offer some kind of face-to-face, a base for staff on a rota basis. I'm being super vague about this because it's not been agreed. We've yet to do all that work, so you know, there's some movement back into centre, but I think what we're all understanding now is that what was will never be again. You know, we're looking at a new normal almost. I'm quite excited about that opportunity from a personal perspective and a staff team perspective, because knowing that the staff, we do quite a difficult job, and it is very difficult when you're working with families that are in distressing situations, and not to be able to have that opportunity to offload to a colleague, you know, the water cooler moment is really difficult. So I think to be able to bring staff together, even if it's for half a day a week, will do them the amazing world of good. So I'm looking forward to that, and I just think whatever we do, it always seems to be, you know, we're on time scales and trying to work towards an end goal. So, and that end goal is always changing and moving. So the immediate future for us is to get some centres back up and running, and see what that looks like. And I think it will be a softly approach. So that's the immediate future. After that, who knows? Not sure yet.
Yeah, and of course for us here in East Lancashire, this week's seen, you know, quite a dramatic change again in circumstances, and do you think that's going to have an impact on what you're doing?
I'm sure it will do, yes. I mean, obviously, the news came out on quite late onto Thursday evening around lockdown measures across East Lancashire. And obviously I live and work in East Lancashire, so I think it will have some impact, certainly. I think we're trying to understand what that means. The new measures are around, you know, for families not mixing, and then obviously not mixing and meeting in gardens, which previously has been seen as being acceptable, hasn't it? For a work perspective, we've been seeing families in the garden when it's appropriate, obviously, and we can discuss general things. So that now is something that we can't do. So it's about being creative as how we can see families. So it certainly will have an impact on us, as where we can see families, children and young people, and discuss and undertake that direct piece of work with that individual. So yeah, it's always a moving goalpost almost, or you know, how we can try and achieve that. It's about being creative, so looking at which other venues we might be able to use, but they're so limited across each of the districts really, because we're all in the same situation. So yeah, I think it's going to be difficult, but I think, you know, staff and service users are coming to terms with it. I think the difficulty that probably people might find is that we've gone back into some form of lockdown, haven't we? We can't now mix and mingle, but we can go to other venues and mix and mingle as long as it's not with people. You know, it is confusing, and I can understand how people, there is an element of frustration. I can understand that. You know, it's confusing how we can't see families in gardens, but we can go to a bar or a restaurant with people from your household, but then potentially you're mixing on the next table, socially distanced, with people that you don't know. So yeah, it's yeah. It's difficult, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. It's something that, you know, in these conversations that I have with people, that I ask is, you know, where's God been in this for you?
I think everywhere. Initially, I didn't know where God was, if I'm honest, and I think that was because I was absolutely consumed by the whole, how am I going to do this from home? And it did consume me, if I'm honest. Thinking how we're going to undertake the job, and you know, felt quite stressed, felt quite anxious. How can I possibly be responsible for a service if we can't deliver it in the way that we've always done, how we know? And then I kind of had a little bit of a wake-up moment, and what I'd been experienced right from almost day one of lockdown, I'd get messages and be tagged into different posts on Facebook, or I'd get lots of text messages on WhatsApp and on Facebook Messenger, and I was thinking, I haven't got time for that. I haven't got time, because I was spending so much time looking at screens and answering emails and Skype calls that when I switched off, which wasn't at 5 o'clock, was quite often quite a bit later than 5 o'clock, I just didn't want to look at a screen. I didn't want to engage with it. And then I realised that actually the messages that I was getting and the posts that were being tagged were about the support that I was getting from God through a whole network of people. And I kind of thought, that's what's happening, you know. So it took me a while to realise that, and I'll be honest with you. And then I started to look at the messages and react and respond to the messages, and I felt that support from, I don't know whether that makes sense, but that's how I feel that God has been part of it. And then I think more later on, as things have, I'm going to say settled down, but we've come to terms with the way that we're working and what's happening, I've been able to have a bit of time to think, right, and what else? So I've had the opportunity to be involved in the food box up at St Anne's at Edgeside, and you know, I'm on the rota for that. So I think that's something that I've been called to do and to help out with, really, as well as other things, you know, supporting in you know, different ways. So I think that's where God's been in it for me. He's always been in it, and he's always been. I didn't just kind of like make the connection at the start, and you kick yourself afterwards and think, that's why, you know. So when I started to, you know, acknowledge and respond and the messages, I felt that connection, certainly. And sometimes, you know, I would think about something, and then the song that I might start humming, and then on the service on Sunday, that's the song, and I'm thinking, how's that happened, you know? And that's happened a couple of times, you know. So yeah, so there's where God is in it for me.
It's great, isn't it, that God, you know, the creator of the universe, has got all these tiny details in hand as well.
Yeah. It's in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
It's out there, isn't there?
And what you were saying about, you know, all these texts and messages coming in, and they were all God focused. Yeah. It just reminded me that, you know, it's really difficult to build a house without putting the scaffolding up. And there was the scaffolding for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So It's been an absolute delight to chat to you today, and as always, and just keep up that amazing work, and
Thank you, Rod.
keep on encouraging people, as I know is one of your great gifts.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Rod.
Yeah, thanks, Sue.
All right, take care now.
And you, bye.
Bye bye.